Hello! So I accidentally put on a filter and I'm not sure what it was. I'm trying to take it off. Let's see. Happy Saturday. It's been a long time since I've been on here. Hello. I put on, I swiped it right before and it did some sort of effect. I'm like, oh my goodness. How are you? It's good to see you guys. Happy Saturday. I am going to read Proverbs today. Proverbs 22. I don't know why it's got a weird color, but it's just because I accidentally swiped something, and so I'm like, it doesn't show me on here how to change the effects. For some reason it wants to put an effect, but oh well, we'll have to go with that then, unless I change the effect. Hello. Happy Saturday. I keep saying that, but I'm happy. So it's so nice to be on live again. It's been quite a long time since I've been on a live. I've been trying to get on these lives over and over again, but something always stops me. And today I was just like, I gotta do it, I gotta get on. And I haven't finished all the Proverbs, so I'm in Proverbs 22 today. And I'm planning to read Proverbs 22, 23, and 24. That way I can hurry up and finish Proverbs. I have the whole live links on my YouTube, and I have the individual chapters on my TikTok. But I really like the Proverbs. Every time I read through the Bible, it always feels like it's something new. It feels like I am learning it for the first time, and I'm really blessed each time I read it. I'm gonna go ahead, and when I read the chapter, I just want to write it down, because I've done it where I've gone on these lives and I read the chapter, and the next time I come on, I read the same chapter. I'm like, no. So I want to make sure I write down the chapters I'm doing. Proverbs 22. All right. So I'll go ahead and read this, and then I'm gonna try to post these as soon as my phone has enough space. That was another reason why I was not going on these lives. It's because my phone is full and I haven't taken a lot of stuff off of it. So even some of my videos, I've taken a break of doing some of the videos because my phone is full. So we'll see. I'll have to delete some stuff, get rid of some videos. I have a lot of Disney content that I've been making. So I have a lot of, like, I guess you could say, like, be-real, where it's just the parks, so I can use for later. But I got kind of bored of them, so I might just make a whole new be-real and just get rid of all of the old videos. And this one, and then I can download this and put it onto my YouTube and my profile page. So I'll go ahead and start. Proverbs 22. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, loving favor rather than silver and gold. The rich and the poor have this in common: the Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the perverse. He who guards his soul will be far from them. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old he will not depart from it. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender. He who sows iniquity will reap sorrow, and the rod of his anger will fail. He who has a generous eye will be blessed, for he gives his bread to the poor. Cast out the scoffer, and contentions will leave. Yes, strife and reproach will cease. He who loves purity of heart and has grace on his lips, the king will be his friend. The eyes of the Lord preserve knowledge, but he overthrows the words of the faithless. The lazy man says, "There is a lion outside. I shall be slain in the streets." The mouth of an immoral woman is a deep pit. He who is abhorred by the Lord will fall there. Foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of correction will drive it far from him. He who oppresses the poor to increase his riches, and he who gives to the rich will surely come to poverty. Incline your ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply your heart to my knowledge. For it is a pleasant thing if you keep them within you. Let them all be fixed upon your lips, so that your trust may be in the Lord. I have instructed you today, even you. I have not written to you except excellent things of counsels and knowledge, that I may know the certainty of the words of truth, that you may answer words of truth to those who send to you. Do not rob the poor because he is poor, nor oppress the afflicted at the gate, for the Lord will plead their cause and plunder the soul of those who plunder them. Make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man do not go, lest you learn his ways and set a snare for your soul. Do not be one of those who shakes hands in a pledge, one of those who is surety for debts. If you have nothing with which to pay, why should he take away your bed from under you? Do not remove the ancient landmarks which your fathers have set. Do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. That is a great verse. Sorry, I thought I had a fan on. I'm like, something is spinning. I like that verse. I never really paid attention to that one. Verse 29. Do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. And that's like an important thing. Hello everyone. I don't know if I forget to say hello. I'm sorry. Join the oh, how weird. AI wrote something. Bible read along Proverbs. Join the discussion. How interesting. You can manage AI settings. AI summaries and settings. That's new. I don't think I've ever seen that in a live. How funny. AI has been really trippy lately. Every time I see something, I'm like, wow, it's incredible the different things that it does. It's been a while since I've read these out loud. I'm like, I got a little tongue-tied. I'm like, hopefully they won't get too crazy. I know some of the chapters can get kind of long. I'm almost done with Proverbs. I only have, I might do this in 3 lives. So I'll read 22, 23, 24. And then my next live, I'll do 25, 26, 27, 28. I know that there's one, I think I have to do one by itself. So 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yeah, and then it would be 31 would be by itself. Hello everyone. I want to read some of the commentary that I have in my Bible. I have a study Bible, and for those of you that have been on my lives, which I know it's been a long time, I used to get on these lives like every single day, and I stopped and I got really stressed out just because when it comes to these lives, there is a spiritual warfare. I give it to all those people that I've been seeing on the lives lately, and there is a spiritual warfare that is unmatched. I have never gone through some of the crazy, like, it's insane. I read the whole Bible on this, on these lives, I think in 2023 or 2022. I can't remember, but it's crazy. It's crazy the amount of the enemy wanting not to get this through, like the anxiety I was getting, just stuff that was just happening in my life. There was a lot of like deaths in my family. Like it was just chaos. So I'm glad to get on, but I always get very like hesitant because the battle is real. Sorry, my dog is drinking water. I don't know if you guys can hear all that. That was another thing. One of my mic's cords went out, and I love my mic, but the way it connects to my phone, there was some sort of weird like ringing sound. I'm like, oh, I don't know why. It doesn't want to, the enemy doesn't want it to go through. But there's a commentary for the verse 1 when it talks about a good name is to be chosen rather than riches, loving favor rather than silver and gold. And it says, a good name is a reward of good behavior, a token of the esteem of family and community, and one of wisdom's most valuable prizes. Living wisely and traveling the path of wisdom results in a good name. Solomon chose wisdom, walked this path, and received a good name. After years of walking the wise path, Solomon tragically compromised his convictions about God and wisdom. In the end, all his wealth and power could not salvage his good name. This admonition urges us to keep our eyes on the Lord, trusting him to give us the power and strength to keep walking in the path of wisdom. And I like that, a good name. I think it's, when it comes to like ethics and it comes to who you are as a person, I think a lot of times we tend to conform and we tend to try to be like other people or do things for other people, but we really want to do it for God. I was just talking to my mom about work, and so when it talked about verse 29, when it says, do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings, who will not stand before unknown men. And I like that because I think we were talking about worth ethic today, because sometimes you can work with people and you're just like, everybody has, I don't know if it's the way they're taught or the way they grow up or the way that through the years of age or that sort of thing. Everybody has a different worth ethic, and everyone's got different gifts and talents, and I think sometimes we can either do a comparison and compare and saying like, oh wow, they're doing so good, I don't do that good, or we can even get to the point where it's like, they do so terrible, like I'm better than them. And it's just a very both ones can be very bad and poisoning, and we just need to focus, just like our walk, in work, we just need to focus on what we're supposed to be doing and doing the best we can with the talents that we have, with the time that we have. It's using our time wisely. It's even sometimes going above and beyond, because again, when you work as a Christian, you're working for God, you're not working for man. I think I work at a church, so it's kind of nice to have that kind of reminder. Like I think, like in my office, I have like a bunch of like verses, and a lot of them have to do with strength and worth ethic, because I think sometimes we can get very lax, and I don't want to be at the point where I don't like my job, or I don't like my coworkers, or I don't like going to work, because it's such a, I don't know, I take work too as ministry, because even though I work at a church, a lot of times, like I work tomorrow, and a lot of times conversations, things that people I run into, like becomes ministry, and I minister to people. And there's been so many times where I've come into, and my conversations somehow get real deep real fast. And I don't know if it's because I also am on the worship team and I'm on a different groups, but people like tend to just like pour out a lot to me, and I'm very thankful and grateful. But I also want to make that time, because we want to make that time for people. and then sometimes you're just like, oh, but I have to do this, or I have to go here, and sometimes it's more important to minister to the people than it is to maybe do that small task or do that thing that can wait. So I really enjoy that, and I think being in a church is much more, it's been very beneficial for me to kind of keep that in mind and not have that mentality like, oh, like I can just coast, or I can just, like be like kind of hidden or kind of like in the background. But it's not that case, because the Lord's always showing me something, and the Lord's always using me in a way that I didn't, imagine, or I didn't expect. And I think it's very good to be aware. I try to keep my daughters, like when we pray, like to have that mindset of the divine appointments, because you impact people's life, whether it is you're impacting their lives on social media, or one-on-one, or at work, or in a group, or in a post. There's always an influence. Like, everybody is an influencer to the people around them, and I think we forget that. I think as we go out through our days, like, there's people watching us all the time, and if you're a Christian, a lot of times they're watching you a little bit more in depth than if you're just, kind of just, because they want to see, like, what makes them a Christian, what makes that hype, good. Like, why are they happy in the sad times? Why are they nice to people that are mean to them? Or, like, we're like a weird group of people, because Christianity is not like other things out there, other religions and stuff. Like, Jesus coming down and dying on the cross for his enemies, for the people that he came to save people who hated him, and he died for the people that killed him, and we are the people that nailed those nails on the cross. A lot of times you can put it into one group of people of who did it and whose fault it was, but it's like, no, like, that was me. I took that nail and I nailed him to the cross with the sin that I've done. Hello. And we are so blessed to have that salvation, when we turn to him and we believe in him and we acknowledge him as our savior, and we change our lives around to reflect him. I think it's very important to keep that in mind. And people watch us, if you're a Christian already, people watch us, and people are constantly trying to see if we do things wrong, or even, and it's not even that. It's not even like, oh, you have to watch your back because I can't make a mistake, because we do make mistakes, and I make mistakes all the time. But it's like, what do you do with those mistakes? What do you do when someone wrongs you, or what do you do when you do something wrong? Like, how do you handle that? And it's very important. I always try to pray that the Lord kind of opens my eyes to that, because there's so many times where I'm like, I wish I would have handled it this way, or I wish I would have done it this way. And he opens my eyes each and every time. And you're still learning, you're still growing in your faith. I've been in the church for many, many years. I grew up in the church, and I didn't always make the right decisions, but God has always been there. He has always been my savior. Like, he's always been that that, I don't know, just his amazing love is just, it's overwhelming at times. And sometimes we can get blindsided or backslide, or that sort of thing, but he receives us with open arms. And it's hard to fathom. It's really hard to fathom, because sometimes you know, we can deal with things in our lives and struggles in our lives that, or like even struggles that people don't know, or inward struggles, or when it comes to like our heart, you know, he knows our heart, and sometimes people don't know our hearts. They don't know what we think. They don't know what we feel. They don't know the struggles, and the Lord is there. And I'm just thankful that he forgives us, and that he's always growing me in my life, and creating that clean heart, because he washes away our sins. You know, like we're like scarlet, you know, our hearts are like scarlet, and it's just like he makes it white as snow. Like he just takes our sin and puts it as far as the east to the west. Like they never touch. Like he's just an amazing God. You know, sometimes I get really confused in how like people don't like him. You know, like they don't agree with him, or they don't, you know, like what he stands for. And it's like, you don't know him. Like if you knew him, you would want to receive him. You would want his love. You would want, I mean, he's literally a God who sent down his son and put all the sins on his son, and he died, you know, and his son willingly dying for our sins and coming back to life and creating that opportunity for us to live in heaven with him and live a life of eternal worship of him. And those that don't want anything to do with God, those that don't want to be with God, they're going to get that wish. They're going to get that answered, you know, request, because a life without God will be hell. You know, a life without salvation, a life that doesn't, you know, want to be with him, you know, it's going to be away from him, will be a place that is terrible, and we get to choose that. We get to choose if we want to be with God and we don't want to be with God. And it's so scary. It's a scary thing. But I'm going to go ahead and read the next chapter. Proverbs 23. When you sit down to eat with the ruler, consider carefully what is before you, and put a knife to your throat. If you are a man given to appetite, do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Do not overwork to be rich. Because of your own understanding cease. Will you set your eyes on that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away like an eagle toward heaven. Do not eat the bread of a miser, nor desire his delicacies. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. The morsel you have eaten, you will vomit up, and waste your pleasant words. Do not speak in hearing of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your words. Do not remove the ancient landmarks, nor enter the fields of the fatherless. For their Redeemer is mighty. He will plead their cause against you. Apply your heart to instruction and your ears to words of knowledge. Do not withhold correction from a child. For if you beat him with the rod, he will not die. You shall beat him with the rod and deliver his soul from hell. My son, if your heart is wise, my heart will rejoice indeed. I myself, yes, my inmost being will rejoice. When your lips speak right things, do not let your heart envy sinners. Do not be zealous for the fear of the Lord all the day. For surely there is a hereafter, and your hope will not be cut off. Hear, my son, and be wise, and guide your heart in the way. Do not mix with wine bibblers, or with gluttonous eaters of meat. For the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty, and drowsiness will clothe a man with rags. Listen to your father who begot you, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy the truth, and do not sell it. Also wisdom and instruction and understanding. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he who begets a wise child will delight in him. Let your father and mother be glad, and let her who bore you rejoice. My son, give me your heart, and let your eyes observe my ways, for a harlot is a deep pit, and a seductress is a narrow well. She also lies in wait as for a victim, and increases the unfaithful among men. Who has a woe? Who has sorrow? Who has contentions? Who has complaints? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Those who linger long at the wine, those who go in search of mixed wine. Do not look on the wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it swirls round smoothly. At the last it bites like a serpent and stings like a viper. Your eyes will see strange things, and your heart will utter perverse things. Yes, you will be like one who lies down in the midst of the sea, or like one who lies on the top of the mast, saying, They have struck me, but I was not hurt. They have beaten me, but I do not feel it. When shall I awake, that I may seek another drink? That's a tough one. That's such an interesting. My pastor was talking Wednesday about stumbling a brother, and he's going through 2 Corinthians 8, I believe it was, and I'm gonna check my notes really quick and make sure. I believe it's 2 Corinthians 8, and so it's cool that I love how every time I go on these lives, guys, the 1 Corinthians 8. He's doing 2 Corinthians on Sundays, and he's doing 1 Corinthians on Wednesdays. Every time I read on these lives, it lines up with what I'm reading in Scripture or what they're teaching in my church. They have I've been reading through the Bible in 90 days. I haven't done the 90 days. I just more have been checking off the box. So I did a post earlier, and I said, like, who's gonna do it? Because it was like 90 days left in the year. I'm like, wow, you guys could all read the Bible in 90 days. In the Bible app, they have a 90-day one. I think they also have a 30-day one. I'm not sure, or maybe I was just reading that by myself. But that was a challenge too. But it hasn't been too bad. I think right now I'm in Psalms, so I'm actually catching up to where I am in Proverbs. I think I'm halfway in the Psalms, but it's been really good because sometimes at work I can just listen to music or podcasts or watch or listen, not watch, listen to pretty much anything, like books. I've done books, I've done TV shows, I've done movies, and I just listen to them, and which works out well because I'm like an auditory learner, and I think that when I listen to it, just like when I do these lives, hearing myself say these words out loud have been a lot more impactful than me just reading it or even listening to it. So I really appreciate having the Bible app that kind of just reads it to you. And this time I'm reading it in the NLT, so it has been a lot faster. I've done it in the King James Version, and I haven't done it in the New King James Version because I don't think the Bible app has the New King James. That's the U Version app. I don't think it has the New King James, but I think the Blue Letter Bible has the New King James, so I'll probably do that the next time I read through the Bible. But I think it's just nice to have. A lot of times people are like, well, you're not studying it, you're not getting into depth with the word, and that's true as far as that reading, because I do read on my own. It's funny, I guess I read the Bible a lot, guys, because I'm reading through Esther, and I kind of still got stuck on chapter 1 and just kind of meditating a lot on chapter 1. And what had happened with Queen Vashti, and yeah, I kind of stopped and just kind of stood on that passage, but yeah, it's so nice to listen to it, because like if I'm gonna even in my house, like I tend to put on a TV show or a movie in the background. I'd rather it be the Bible. You know, I'd rather it be worship music. I'd rather it be something that is edifying, even if I'm not sitting down and listening to it. Like there's an absorption, you know, like the word doesn't go void. So obviously I'm not getting every single detail when I read the Bible so quickly, but I'm getting something. I'm getting something every single time I listen to it and read it. So a lot of you guys, if you get stuck reading the Bible, you're just like, oh, I'm just not getting nothing out of it. And a lot of times it's just doing it over time. It's continual. I think the first time I read the whole Bible, it took me so many years to read the whole Bible, like to sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna finally read the whole Bible in one year. I think I started in 1 year, and then after that, it became so much easier. It became so much easier to read the Bible, and then I got, as a gift, I got individual Bible books as notebooks. That is so cool. I've been like obsessed with it. Like it's just so Genesis has its own, and if you guys have trouble reading the Bible, I know they have like an ESV one that went on sale. I have the New King James one, so it's a little bit more pricey, but it's the price of notebooks. You know, like if you have the individual notebooks, you're paying for each notebook, and so you can buy them individually. But I bought them like as a set. First I bought like Genesis, the 5 books of the Bible. I bought that set, and then I ended up getting gifted a whole set, and it is so nice because you can take like, you know, Matthew, and it's like this small little like notebook, and read Matthew. Like a lot of times we are so capable of reading chapters and chapters and pages of novels, or even, you know, or doom scrolling. You know, you're reading, you know, you're constantly reading either the news or recipes. Like we're reading all the time. So when you replace that with like the Bible, it's such a vital part in our lives and in our Christian walk. You know, like that's how God speaks to you. A lot of times, like, God doesn't speak to me, God's not talking to me, God's not saying anything. And the first thing like I ask is, are you reading your Bible? And they're like, no, I don't really have time. Are you in Bible study? No, like I don't really like doing the homework. And it's like, well, how do you think God's gonna speak to you? Like I've heard people that have audibly heard God, you know. I haven't. I've had feelings, or I've kind of like had that sense of like, maybe I should do this, and I felt like it was the Lord's, like, but it wasn't God's voice. It was kind of like my thoughts as my own voice. But I know people have literally heard God and have said, nope, I heard God's voice. I've heard God's, you know, audibly speak. And that's just not how it works for me. So I read the Bible a lot because I want to hear what he says, and I want to know what he has to say and where he wants my life to go. Like, what's the path that he wants for my life? Where is my purpose? And I have found it so much in his word, and especially when I'm reading it on my own, because when I'm reading it on my own, and the Lord will give me a passage, you know, something stood out, like just like I was saying for the last chapter where it says, you know, do you not see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings, who will not stand before unknown men. Why does that stand out? I don't know. But to me, like, that is something that I am going to write down, because I forgot to write that verse down. It's Proverbs 22:29. And I'm going to meditate on that. I'm going to look at that and say, well, what does that mean? What does that mean in my life? You know, is it telling me to do something? Is it asking a rhetorical question? Like, is it like, what does it mean? And sometimes we just need to take it a verse at a time. And that was my big thing about reading the whole Bible, is I wanted to read the whole Bible so I get it all in one context, and then I can go and really dive in. And what the cool part is, when I read the Bible, I'm like, oh, that sounds like this person's writing. That sounds like that person's writing. And that has been really a very important, I don't know, it's been really cool. Like, to see, like, oh, I could see why Paul's letters are the same writers, or like, the law, how things all kind of match together. And when you get into Chronicles, like, I'm also reading through the Bible chronologically with my kids, because I want to make sure that they've read the whole Bible, and I've taught them the whole Bible. And they tend to do it where, like, so if you have something in 1 Samuel and it's also in Chronicles and maybe in Psalms, like, it's all in the same chapter. So sometimes they're like, Mom, like, why is it repeating itself? And I'm like, this is why. I said, you've got, this is when it happened, this is Chronicles where it's having everything all together, and then this is, David's writing, or, this is the psalm that he wrote at that time. And that's been really cool. And again, when it comes to chronological Bibles, it's what they believe the timeline of the Bible is. I don't know if everything's like set in stone, like it has to be that timeline, but it seems pretty close, because when I've read it through, because I think we're kind of in Psalms and Samuel and Chronicles at the same time right now. But it seems really close to the timeline of the Bible. Let's see. I'm gonna read my Bible's commentary. They have some cool commentary that I like. Well, I'll read for the wine bibblers, because that's what I was talking about earlier, because that's what my pastor was talking about on Wednesday. For verses 29 through 35, it talks about this. It says, the vivid portrait describes a drunkard. Often drunkenness is characterized by laughter, partying, and great fun. The devastating picture here is exactly the opposite. This person is beset by problems, quarrels, anxiety, hallucinations, and poor health. How many marriages, homes, and businesses have been wrecked because a man or woman becomes enslaved to drink? Even though the drunkard described is miserable, he cannot wait to wake up so he can have another drink. The admonition is to refuse to allow your eyes to look at wine. Outwardly it sparkles, but is as deadly as a poisonous snake. And that's very true. Like, my pastor gave a story on Wednesday, and he talked about, thank you for the likes, Hugo. He gave a story where this man had never drank, ever. Never drank, and he was older. And he ended up going out with somebody, and they like gave him something to drink. And after that, like, it ruined his life. Like, he became an alcoholic, and he could not help himself. And he didn't know, like, it wasn't like he was with people that drank, and I think they were considering themselves Christians. So I don't know, like, exactly, I can't remember the full story, but it ruined that man's life. And I think that's very important when we encourage someone to do something, or if we are living a life that may be a stumbling block. It's very important to be aware of who's around us, and not stumble people, which is hard, because I think we can become very legalistic. And I know there's been times in my life where I've literally got stressed out, because it's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't say this, I can't go here, I can't do this, and I would trap myself in the whole, this hole of legalism. And then I finally just began to look at God's love. I looked at, loving God and loving people, and then I kind of just stood with that. Does this love God, and does this love, people? Is this loving to people? And that's where I'm it's kind of made it a little bit easier, but it can be very overwhelming. You know, we live a life that is set apart, and we live a life that is not like the world, and we stand out quite frequently. So, but it's encouraging. It's encouraging. Like, it's against the norm now. So now we're rebels, guys. But I will go ahead and read on because I'm running out of time. Proverbs 24. Do not be envious of evil men, nor desire to be with them, for their hearts devise violence, and their lips talk of troublemaking. Through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. A wise man is strong, yes, the man of knowledge increases strength. For by wise counsel you will wage your own war, and in a multitude of counselors there is safety. Wisdom is too lofty for a fool. He does not open his mouth in the gate. He who plots to do evil will be called a schemer. The devising of foolishness is sin, and the scoffer is an abomination to men. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Deliver those who are drawn towards death, and hold back those stumbling to the slaughter. If you say, surely we did not know this, does he who weighs the heart consider it? He who keeps your soul, does he not know it? And will he not render to each man according to his deeds? My son, eat honey because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to your taste. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be to your soul. If you have found it, there is a prospect, and your hope will not be cut off. Do not lie in wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Do not plunder at his resting place, for a righteous man may fall 7 times and rise again, but the wicked shall fall by calamity. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and do not let your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the Lord see it and it displeases him, and he turn away his wrath from him. Do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of the wicked, for there will be no prospect for the evil man. The lamp of the wicked will be put out. My son, fear the Lord and the king. Do not associate with those given to change, for their calamity will rise suddenly, and who knows the ruin those two can bring. These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to show partiality in judgment. He who says to the wicked, you are righteous, him the people will curse. Nations will abhor him. But those who rebuke the wicked will have delight, and a good blessing will come upon them. He who gives a right answer kisses the lips. Prepare your outside work, make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterwards build your house. Do not be a witness against your neighbor without cause, for would you deceive with your lips? Do not say, I will do to him just as he done to me. I will render to him according to his work. I went by the field of the lazy man, and by the vineyard of the man devoid of understanding, and there it was, all overgrown with thorns. Its surface was covered with nettles. Its stone wall was broken down. When I saw it, I considered it well. I looked on it and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. So shall your poverty come like a prowler, and your need like an armed man. There's a verse that stood out. And will he not render to each man according to his deeds? I was hoping they'd have commentary on that one. If you say, surely we do not know this, does he who weighs the heart consider it? He who keeps your soul, does he not know it? And will he not render to each man according to his deeds? I think it's very important to think about that, because I think when I see that, it reminds me of like people that are in sin that don't know that they're in sin. I think a lot of times when you have missionaries that go out to countries and to places that are in areas that have never heard the gospel, I think it's important that we reach those, because they don't know a lot of things that they do that is wrong. Like there was one missionary that, I don't know if it was cannibalism or if it was just witchcraft or something they were dealing with, in an area where, you know, you couldn't reach. You had to like kind of go through jungles and stuff. And they went, and this guy, I don't know if they tied him to a tree or something, but you know, they didn't like what he had to say about the Lord, and they didn't like, you know, what the man was saying, and so I think they let him go. And he felt a calling to go back. It's important, like it's an important missionary, but I can't think of his name. But when he came back, they were like, "We've been waiting for you." They said, where we tied you up, like it's supposed to be this big, you know, strong tree, and it was this, you know, amazing, you know, it was flourishing and everything. But when they tied him up and then he left, like it got sick and died. And that was their sign that what he was saying was true. And they converted, you know. And so it's just like, it's things that like that, like it's amazing how the Lord can use, that seems kind of simple. It seems kind of just like natural, like, oh yeah, the tree is gonna die. But it brought them to saving faith of the Lord. And they didn't know, you know. Sometimes people don't know, you know, and when they're told, you know, they can accept it or they can reject it. And in that case, they rejected it. And then they saw the aftermath, and the Lord gave them that revelation, and they accepted it. And I think that's amazing, you know. I think it's just incredible what the Lord does and how he reaches the lost, how he reaches us. You know, I know he speaks to me a lot through my kids. You know, if there's things that I need to correct them on, a lot of times the Lord's like, well, this is what I need to correct you on. And it makes it so simple, and it's very refining. You know, it just humbles me in my walk. But it's amazing. Like there's so many lessons that we can miss out on because we're not looking for them. We're not seeking his word. We're not seeking, you know, to hear him. You know, a lot of times I see it in other people when something's bothering them, and I feel like it's because it's something that they're dealing with. You know, I know that there's been like very angry people, and they were mad at somebody else for being angry. And then I'm like, wow, like it's that reflection, you know, that the Lord allows us to see our hearts. And I think a lot of times we look at that passage where it's like, don't point out the speck in your brother's eye before like removing the plank from yours. Because I think the speck is a reminder of what we're doing wrong, what we're dealing with. And not always. I don't think we're always like, you know, I think there's times where, you know, there's something that's unrighteous and something that's sinful that's done that needs to be taken care of and needs to be taking place. But there's times where we're so passionate about, you know, like people gossiping, like, oh, this person gossips all the time. And then it's because that person's dealing with that on the inside too. And it's just, you know, it's like we shouldn't not address the sin. You know, we just need to make sure that we're dealing with our own sins too, and not just focusing on everybody else's. Because as Christians, we still need to help our brothers and sisters, you know, in this purification, in this sanctification process. So I think it's very important to just always be reflecting, always be asking for that forgiveness, and for God to show us what we need to change, because we're always gonna have to change something. And if we don't ask for it, like, he will show it to us. He will show it to us, and we won't necessarily be ready for it. And when it comes as a surprise, that's when I'm like, I didn't know I was still dealing with that. I didn't know I was still, that was still struggle, or like, why did that come up again? And but I think the Lord gives us so many chances, and I'm very thankful for that. But I have to get off, and I'm so thankful that you guys have joined my live. My next live, I will do the next couple of chapters of Proverbs. These lives I will go ahead and put on my YouTube and my TikTok as well. So I hope you have a blessed day. Take care.